I just started work on the wooden part of the Dynamite 4 pistol, and this is, I haven't touched this side yet. This is as it was, all dark and grungy and horrible, and this is the side I've actually worked on. There we go, which as you can see is coming along quite nicely. But I just wanted to show you this because I've restored quite a few wooden stocks on air rifles now, and I've got a process, and I normally start off with 120 grit on the sanding pads on the old mouse, right? And then I work up through finer grades and finally finishing with a hand sand at 400 grit. 120 grit on this wouldn't touch it. It made almost no impression whatsoever. So I've actually gone down to the coarsest grit I've got, which is 40, and that's finally starting to take the crap off that was on this. So obviously this is still quite rough. I'm going to have to smooth it all off. But yeah, you've gone from that, which is almost black, effectively, to that, which is coming close to what I think the original colour of the wood was. But it just shows you how bad this was, that I've had to go down to 40 grit to actually get this, to clean this off. So I'm going to be, I'm going to have to do quite a lot of sanding on this because I'm going to have to get all the muck off, which most of it's come off this side, and do all that with 40 and then work up through, I'll probably go to 120 next and to smooth it all off. But yeah, this is just really, really bad. So there you go. All right, the sanding is finished and it's come up quite nicely. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But in order to get rid of all of the dark marks on the wood, you'd have to make it so much smaller than it was originally. It would require so much more sanding. You have to know when to call it a day. But I think that this will come up, once the finished oil goes on it, I think this will come up quite nice. I think this is kind of like the original colour that the wood was here. So yeah, and it's nice and smooth and flat now. So we'll string it up and get some finishing oil on it. The little Mark IV Diana is finished, and I'm very pleased with it. It's come out very well. Probably took me about 2 weeks in total, but the stock took a long time. I had to put quite a lot of coats of finishing oil on the stock, so that took a while. But it's come up quite nicely. It is, I must admit, a little darker than I thought it would be, but it looks okay. I literally spent the last day or so manufacturing the replacement rear sight, which is, I'll close in on that, you can have a look at it. Now, fortunately, there are many images of this little pistol online, so I was able to do some research, and there are thousands of these little pistols made. Some like this as Diana Mark IVs, others as Milbro G4s. But they had a variety of different rear sights. I think this is an earlier one, probably in the 1960s, and that sight is about what would have been on there at that time period. Now, I wasn't sure how the original rear sight was fixed. There's obviously a tab on this end that slides into this raised piece, and there was a cross-drilled hole, very small one, so I think possibly there was a pin. What I've done is I've tapped out the hole each size for 8BA, and I've got 8BA grub screws in either side, and they simply clamp that in place, and it seems to work quite well. So yeah, I think that's an adequate replacement, shall we say. The only other bit of manufacturing I did, as you can, this is, well, there were two other bits of manufacturing, but I think you can see it quite clearly. I've added this little ring of aluminium on the end of the air tube. Now, as I explained earlier in the video, I had to prise apart the back of the air tube to get the cap off, and it split, as in the end of the air tube. And I've used the original method of holding the cap in place, which is I got a new circlip in there, and it did hold, but I was a bit concerned about it, so I've machined up this thick aluminium ring, which is a very tight fit over the end of the air tube, and that holds it all together. I had to sand out a little bit of the back of the wood of the grip here, but only a little tiny bit, and that worked out fine. I'm not worried about that now. And the only other thing was, someone had put a ordinary screw in here as a pivot, and I've manufactured a proper pivot bolt, which I think is a pretty good copy of what would have been in there originally. So Yeah, I think it's turned out really nice. I'm well pleased with it. And if you remember what it looked like when I received it, it's quite a transformation. I'm as I said, well pleased with this. Now, another question that might come up is, why bother? These were relatively cheap air pistols when they came out. You can pick up a fairly good one now. 30 to 40 pounds will get you a good version of one of these, and there's nothing particularly special about them. I like them because they are a little bit different in the fact that they've got the top lever, the over lever cocking handle. But no, well, it's about, I think, the way you feel about things. You know me, I've a while back now I fixed a £2.50 broom rather than throw it away and buy a new one. Where I possibly can, I prefer to restore and repair things. It doesn't matter how much money they're worth or not worth. It's the fact that you're saving something else from going in a landfill, and to me that's a bonus. That's well worth the effort for that reason alone. But I also enjoy doing it. It's very rewarding. I go back and look at the photos I took of this when I first got it, and what it looks like now, and of course now it works, which it didn't do when I got it. So yeah, so there you go. That's the little Diana Mark IV air pistol. So all we've got left to do is shoot it. So how did we do? Well, I don't think we did too bad at all. You got to remember that this is not a target pistol. This is simply a backyard plinker. It's also a very old gun. I've got no idea how much use it had in its lifetime. And bear in mind, when I first received this, of course, it didn't work at all. So I think that isn't too bad, really. Now, full disclosure, since the last part of the video, I have fitted a new mainspring. And that's transformed the gun. It really did. I didn't realise how bad the original mainspring was, but put a new mainspring in, it's superb now. The other thing is, in order to actually hit this target, I was aiming about 6 inches below the bottom of the target. Now that's got nothing to do with the gun. That's to do with my rear sight that I made for it. Now I'm going to have to do some work on that to try and get it lower, because it's like I said, over my 8.5 meter range, it's shooting about 6 inches high. So yeah, but no, not unhappy with that at all. For those who are interested, the pellets I was using are RWS R10 matches. They're wad cutters, 7 grains. Well, that wraps it up, I think, for the restoration on the little Diana Mark IV air pistol. Very pleased with it, and very grateful again to Ashley for donating this to me and my little armory, shall we say. And I'm going to have a lot of fun shooting this. Got to get that rear sight sorted out, but no, other than that, it's pretty much done. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed the videos on this little pistol, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers!